Hello, welcome back to Raw and Restored podcast. This is episode 3. And I'm getting really excited because 3 out of 7, I almost have a full week of episodes I've done. Like, this is the longest I have ever been fully ready to do something. Like when I used to do YouTube, like videos, like no, I told you about the MUA videos and things like that. When I used to do those, I would like put out like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Oh my gosh, yeah, and then girl, I would film probably 2 videos. I get adrenaline for like 2 days, and then I would be like, okay, I'll do it later. Okay, I don't have enough time. That's because it wasn't in me to do, and I just didn't I knew, I'm not gonna say I didn't know. I knew, but I was like, "Well, the girlies are doing this, so maybe I need to find my niche." But, even with the fitness that I did, that lasted longer than I thought, you know? And that's when I was getting comfortable with doing something that I enjoyed. So it wasn't like I had to do it. I just was sharing it. So this is big for me. This is big for me. And, I hope that you guys are enjoying all this advice that I'm giving. Like I said, this is about learning, healing, growing, becoming your best self. And this is based on experiences that I have been through. And I always said, like I said in the last podcast episode, that if I could help one person, I would feel like I did something. Just like Aaliyah said when she did the song "Never No More." If you never heard "Never No More" off of the last Aaliyah's album, that was a song she said that if she could help one person and get them out that situation, she would feel like she has achieved something. So all you need is one person to listen to you and say, you know what? I do need to make some changes, or I do need to leave that situation for her scenario. But today, um, we are going to talk about something a little different. Not really different, but I know we talked about relationships and infidelity before. We're going to now talk about things that we need. I'm sorry, I have a cold. Kids come home and they give you every little code. And my oldest, she's 17. She likes to follow me around and breathe on me. Like I don't understand. It was cute when you was up to 12 years old, and I'm like, okay, but you 17, girl, you should be away in your room and just don't want to be bothered with nobody. But no, not her. But so like I said, today's episode, like I said, I know we talked about healing for infidelity and why get into long-term relationships or marriages if you're going to sneak. And then we followed that up with you know, uh dang, how do I not know my own topic? Dang, it was on the top tip of my tongue. Well, the last episode, okay, where we talked about finances in a relationship, and how to voice your opinion and be heard and not be passive and things like that. So, today we are talking about fulfillment right where you are. So, I just want to read you something real quick, and then I want you to think about it. All right. We often think fulfillment comes when we finally have the money, the relationship, or the career we want. But what if we could be fulfilled right now, even as we grow? Okay. So that is important. So that way you won't get into the relationships that we mentioned in the other 2 episodes. This is a huge, I mean, big part in how to avoid those. You have to be fulfilled within yourself. A lot. I was watching this. Me and my mother, we watch Fatal Affairs. We watch all the little crime shows. 'Cause I swear I'm a detective. Okay, so yesterday we was watching Fatal Affairs, and it was a story. that took place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it was in 2015, and it was between a teacher and no, it was a teacher, yeah, and I think the guy was a principal. And the guy had started seeing the teacher. She was new to the school, to the district, I believe, and she had already suffered like great deals of pain in her life, like her kid's father had abandoned her. I think she was like had some abuse in her household when she was growing up. And, she just wanted that love to feel from someone. She was going around and, trying to meet just the right person to help take care of her and her daughter. And while she was going out, she would tell her friend, like, I can't date him. He's too broke. I need a guy with some money. So when she comes to the school, and I forgot what the name of the school was, but there's a magnet school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and there's a middle school. And she ends up meeting the guy there, and they hit it off, and she's just like, oh my gosh, this is everything that I dreamed of. He is the perfect guy for me. And he tells her, I am married, but however, I am getting a divorce. So she's like, okay, you're getting a divorce, and then once you get a divorce, he said we can be together. But she ended up getting pregnant before he got divorced. And, he assured her that, don't worry about that. We are not together. We have this really big home here, and she lives in one wing and I live in the other wing. And, we don't even communicate. We just pretty much just do mom, dad duties for the children, and we leave it at that. But the kids know that we're getting divorced. So she's like, okay, fine. And, she's about probably about 7 months. She was far in her pregnancy. At this point, her friend was speaking on the camera. And she was like, she was far, far along, and he had to go to a family reunion. He told her he's going to a family reunion, he'll be back, and, don't worry, and things like that. So she tried to call him, but he wasn't answering. So she knew something was wrong. And oh boy, was there a problem. The problem was he wasn't at the family reunion. He was on a cruise with his wife, who he is not even divorcing. And get this, not only was he not divorcing her, and he was on this cruise with her. He didn't live in a mansion. He lived in a trailer. She found his address and she went to the house. She called her friends like, oh my God, he lives in a trailer. And she couldn't believe how he lied to her. He didn't have all this money. And she just saw a struggle when she saw the trailer. And it was the craziest thing I ever saw. And it didn't stop there. When he came back off the cruise, that was the family reunion. Then he meets up with her. They meet at a Walmart that's like 2 miles away from where she lived. And he decides that he's going to kill her. So he kills her right there with a 3-year-old in the car. He takes her out the car, shoots her, throws her in a lake by like some sugar canes and stuff. And the worker of that property ended up finding her like days later, like 5 months later. By the time he found her, she was like decayed. 'Cause anybody who's been in Louisiana knows that it is tremendously hot. It's so hot. It's like it rains, but you're sticky. It's hot down there. And so she had decayed, and they had to, of course, when that thing happens, you gotta do dental records and things like that. And they determined that it was the lady. And it was really sad because her 3-year-old had to identify him. They put them in like this room with a trained therapist where they get the child to relax their mind, and they have them color, and then the lady come in, they'll start coloring together, and she'll just ask her questions, about that night, just randomly. Like they'll color, and then she'll say, like she told her, she's like, who hurt mommy? And she mentioned the guy's name, and she said, well, what did it sound like when he hurt her? And the girl was like, it was like boom. And she didn't come back she didn't come back. And all of this was because he lied and he did not want her to have the baby. And even though he was telling her that he was so excited about this baby, he was secretly Googling how to kill a pregnant woman and her child. Okay? Her child and the unborn baby. And they found that on his computer. But that wasn't the only thing. When he had killed her that night, he had another woman come pick him up. And they was like, oh my gosh, the wife's involved. Turns out, no, it wasn't the wife. He had another girlfriend. And the reason that they found out that that's what it was is that when the girl saw that he was on the news wanted for murder, she called the police. She went out to the police station. She said, he called me and told me to pick him up from here. And he gave me another story, nothing about, of course, what he had just done. And she said she did not know he was married. She did not know he had also another girlfriend. So yeah, this guy, his name was oh my God, Robert Marks. So look up Robert Marks, okay? In Baton Rouge, Louisiana. All right. And you'll see the story. It is something that I was like, wow. And I just thought that would be a good story to start with today because we're talking about being fulfilled. Not saying like, never that's what somebody deserves because they didn't feel fulfilled. But that's why it's so important to try to fill your own needs because people pry on it. She was just a woman that was tired of struggling and tired of trying to figure it out on her own, and she thought she really had a chance with this man that made up this fabricated story of which he did not know nothing. He didn't own no big house. He didn't have nothing that he said. I guess he was trying to speak it into existence, but he wasn't going to include her. So just think about that. All right. Because, you know, fulfillment for a person and the whole meaning of fulfillment is an internal. It's something internal. That's what I'm saying. You have to be happy with yourself. So all that's internal, don't worry about what's on the outside. Try not to focus on that. Okay. You may not have the best clothes, all right? You may not be able to get your hair done like all the other girlies. You may not be able to get Chanel's done like all the other girlies. But what can you do? How can you get around all of this? You know, what can you do? You can you can learn some of the things yourself. You can try to work inside your budget to create fashion looks that appease to you and be happy with how you do things. Even with money, like, okay, your friend may have moved on to a higher position. You feel like you're in this position below them that your position doesn't even matter. Okay. And it does, it's just not your time yet. So your friend may be in that position now, but who knows? Your friend may help get you together and get you the things that you need so that way you can get to any position that you want. Heck, you might be working side by side with them, you might be working over them, or you may be leaving the agency or whatever altogether and going off and starting something in a new agency completely new. So that's what I mean by being happy with yourself. Pat yourself on the back about your accomplishments. Some people nowadays, they are so focused on media. Like the media tells them literally, no, baby, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to do college. You don't need to do a trade. You don't need to have a regular career. You have to be an influencer. You have to put something on the internet or you're an absolute nobody. And that's just not the truth, right? You can go to school, all this crazy stuff going on with the colleges right now, but your college isn't a bad thing. I mean, because you may want to do something that a college offers for a major. You may want to do real estate. I mean, you can go to real estate school. and do that. But maybe you want to do real estate and learn how to open up your own agency and you want to know more about business. And that puts you under business management. You know what I'm saying? You may want to be an electrical engineer. I don't see any engineer jobs that you can go get a certification for. So you gotta go to school for that. Whether it's civil engineering, electrical engineering, any other engineering job that I'm forgetting about. And architects, I'm not going to trust you if you're an architect and you go to get a certification. No, 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 no. I need you to go to school for that, okay? Because now you're dealing with structures and foundations. So that's the thing that's important and stuff. So focus on your own path and what will fulfill you, meaning that what is something that you desire to do. And if you already have your plan, don't let nobody change your plan. I mean, I've seen girls just, I know a girl who told her mom, I want to be a gynecologist, but I'm only going to be a gynecologist if my YouTube career don't take off. Her mother was like, "Do you mean you want to be a gynecologist and then you could do YouTube on the side? If that's what it comes to, if you have time for it outside of your career, like you have to. People really have to shift priorities, thought patterns, and things like that. That all has to do with internal things, and that's why people have internal struggles, even with relationships. People will say, their friend met someone and they've been dating 6 months,